learn how to tune electronic fuel injection live in person with the guys from RealTuners? We have 2-day courses in dyno shops all across the country. You can register for these at RealTuners.com and click on RealTuners Live Classes. For more information or to make a reservation, go to RealTuners.com or message us on Facebook at RealTuners LLC. Now, about those classes. When are they, you might ask? April 13th and 14th, a Level 1 EFI course at Endless Performance in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. April 27th and 28th, an advanced class at 417 Motorsports in Springfield, Missouri. May 18th and 19th, a standalone EFI Level 1 class at 417 Motorsports in Springfield, Missouri. June 15th and 16th, a Level 2 advanced course in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Endless Performance. And of course, we will be trying to schedule more classes and more dates throughout the year, so keep checking back for more info.
Tonight we welcome our special guest all the way from Clovis, New Mexico, the owner of Squirrel Tuned, and now the proud holder of the stock bottom end 4.8 liter LS quarter-mile record. Please welcome Jack Roberts.
And as usual, we have our normal panel of hosts. Bill Fowler of Big Hat Racing. Chad Reynolds of Bangshift.com. James Short of Shore Tuning. John Bewley of Little John's Motorsport Solutions. Mark Dahlquist of Throttles Performance. Scott Clark of RealTuners.com. Scott Evans of Helix Tuning. Brad Klemp from Clapped Out. Tom Sewell of Fuel Injector Development. Dan Parker, the movie star. He's blind in one eye and can't see out the other. And possibly a few of our previous guest hosts will pop their heads in and chat as well. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Now let's get this show on the road. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of RealTuners Radio. Looks like it's warming up outside, except for maybe up in Denver, where they seem to be having a freak blizzard. Let's bring everybody in, see who's joining us today. Who all we got
Good
in
evening,
here tonight?
I'm here. Hello.
How's it going?
¿Cómo está? Bienvenidos.
Okay.
We got a whole bunch of hosts on tonight. That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Scott Clark, Bill Fowler, John Bewley, Scott Evans, Brian Barnhill, Jack Roberts, and I don't know who the 9077 is.
Fowler.
I said Bill Fowler, didn't I?
I think you skipped Fowler.
I suck at life.
I'm eminently skippable. It's fine.
Cool. Now, wow, geez. So, what do we got? We got a couple of extra classes we just added, and I forgot to have Mr. Evans add them to the list of advertisements at the beginning, but May 4th and 5th, we're doing a standalone EFI Level 1 at James Short's shop in Danville, Kentucky. Shore Tuning, very popular place to do those. I think we've got some guys on tonight, a number of guys that have been to the classes at James. That's one of the best ones to go to. And then also June 1st and 2nd, we're going to be in Slidell, Louisiana. So that's the New Orleans area. The new shop for us, air-conditioned shop, which is cool. But anyway, just check out RealTuners.com. There's schedules up there. Everything's up and online and ready to register. So have at it. That's all I had. What's everybody else doing tonight?
Oh, just trying to stay on top of things, trying to keep things going.
Just getting over.
I didn't see
sick.
no angry rants about people ass-holing you today. John, must have been a better day at work.
It was a good day today.
Good deal.
Good day. I had a run on Leash Electronics today. Like everybody and their uncle needed something.
I saw that. Yeah. That's funny. I saw like 4 different posts of people trying to hunt down boost leashes and combo boxes.
Boost leashes and combo boxes and relay boards and just everybody was wanting everything. I'm like down to nothing at the current point in time.
Hopefully I got my order in quick enough then.
Yeah, I got you covered. Speak of the devil, one of them. Yeah, yours went out today, actually.
Sweet.
Oh, that's got to be Jonathan right there, the mystery number.
Mr. Coleman from DB.
We got to talk about, so we got a couple of guys tonight on here that are, I don't know, some of my I just heard about Jack here recently. I mean, John told me, hey, watch this guy, see what he does. But I've been watching Jonathan Coleman from DBR is on here tonight. And we've been watching him at Drag Week for a couple of years. And I mean, I don't know what internet records you actually own. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but the one I'm going to always know you for is fastest dude with air conditioning at Drag Week. That's totally.
That's not a bad way, I guess.
No, that's a great way. This car busts off sevens and carries a trailer around, and these guys are riding cozy and comfy. That's badass.
Gets on everybody's nerves when they're passing you and you're just cracking the window to video them because you don't know if they're out.
Look at these guys in a 190-degree cockpit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly don't know of any car that is quicker. You say that, and then you think back about it. I'm honestly sitting here thinking, and I can't say I know of a car that's quicker and faster in a quarter of a mile than Jonathan's car that has air conditioning on it.
I'm with you on that. I bet you that's a real deal.
Any of you guys out in podcast land listen tonight, if you can think of a car or know of a car that has functioning air conditioning on it that runs quicker and faster than a 763 at 183 miles an hour, let us know. Because I honestly think it's like the quickest and fastest quarter-mile drag car that actually has AC on it.
The only thing that worries me that people are going to come up with in response to that, John, is they're going to show you a bunch of fairground cruisers.
Well, I mean, if you're going to
be honest, did it last all week? Did the AC work all week, Jonathan? Does it work decent?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's
really and honestly great.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm sure it is. Because a lot of people, we just never
it's
remember
annoying as hell.
What you're going to see now is remember the duct tape long box on Larry's truck. Next, you're going to see a house window unit strapped to the bed with ductwork to the cab, running off a generator.
Yep. Generator in the trunk.
Yeah, I was part of that screwery on Larry's truck where we had a generator riding in the back because we lost an alternator. So we would charge batteries, had two batteries, would charge one and drive while we ran the battery down on the other one. Kind of interesting. But no, that's pretty badass, man. I mean, so I don't know. Let's switch over to Jack. Let's talk to Jack first. Then we'll get back to some annex with the DVR guys. But go ahead.
Yeah. Is Jack squirrel tuned? Okay.
Yes.
I have a question that's been bugging me because I want to know how you came up with the name Squirrel Tuned. Because when I think of squirrel, I think of my dog. Like she's running along and squirrel. You know. So how did you come up with the name Squirrel Tuned?
I'm not very creative, and it was a username from like Xbox days and stuff like that. So brought it on over.
Oh, I had that same problem. I was Diesel Geek forever. And everyone's like, what does that mean?
You
tune diesels? Yeah, right. On a lot of places. So hilarious. No, that's cool. But Mr. Bewley, what can you tell us about this guy's stats? You know a little bit about his combo, right?
Oh, I know a little bit about it. We put it together pretty much turbo inlet to tail shaft. Jack went and dug a stock bottom end 4.8 out of a 2005 Yukon.
That's something like that.
Gen 4 motor. And 706 heads, which are the worst heads, quote unquote, worst heads that exist for the LS engine, short of the iron 317s. Man, we just did everything as cheap as we could do it. We put 366s on it because they were cheaper than a single 485. And then we basically just spent all of Jack's money on the valve train because we wanted something that was going to scream. So we did Johnson short travel lifters from Randy Vrooman and the guys at Johnson. This year we updated to the new Ultimate RPM spring kit from BTR. So we've got like 200 on the seat, 500 open on the hydraulic roller. We got, 3/8 push rods. We still got stock rockers with trunnion kits in it, Jack, or did we put comp rockers on it?
No, just stock stuck with the Smith Brothers.
I did a cam in the thing that's probably smaller than all of you think it is.
We kind of know from the open pressure versus the seat pressure, but go ahead.
You can guess how big it is if you want to, Bill. I can guarantee you that camshaft is smaller than you think it is.
That's what she said.
She knew it was smaller.
She knew it was smaller. The camshaft is like everybody else's junk. They think it's way bigger than it actually is. But and it's got a ProFlow intake on it, E85 air to water, couple of little cast 366s. That
ProFlow for the win.
Do the business. Yeah, probably one of the best LS intakes on the market. I love that thing. Absolutely love that intake.
I had that intake on my car, and it did the best that I had on anything I put on it.
What intake is this again?
The Edelbrock
ProFlow XT.
ProFlow XT.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, we use the LS2 version, so the 4-bolt, the stock 90mm 4-bolt LS throttle bodies bolt to it.
I've had good luck with the ProFlows.
Yeah, I really like them. I think they do a really good job, and plus there's room for 16 injectors on them, so that's a big bonus for me to run them. They're easy to put 16 in a second set of injectors on. So did a called up lane at PTC. I picked a converter out for it. We got a billet 9.5 inch in it, and we had PTC build us a power glide for the car. 180 straight cut, reed case, 10 clutch drum, rollerized billet shafts, blah, 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 blah. And the little car's a runner.
So there's more money in the transmission than there is in the long block.
There's
in the engine and turbos.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
pretty affordable.
You can put
turbos.
$6,000 in a transmission pretty easily.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to keep secrets or nothing, but the converter and the transmission are $4,600. And for a transmission that can hold 1,700 horsepower, because I've got that transmission in some other cars with bigger motors making a little bit more power, you can't beat it with a stick, man. A power glide to hold 1,700 horsepower for $3,500, it's the best kept secret as far as transmissions go for race cars on the market today, in my opinion. I love that thing.
And if Matt Adams is unbeatable. If Matt Adams is listening when he said he can't beat it with a stick, that means you're clutch pedal, buddy.
Oh, that's funny. Jack, can you share anything about the chassis? Because obviously from the photographs it leaves square.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt, but we haven't even, here's me, usually Bill covers this stuff, but we haven't even explained how fast this car went yet, what it weighed, what we can talk about. Maybe we can start there. What performance-wise, what did this combo end up doing? And then we'll get more into it.
I'll let Jack take over on that and let him tell about it.
I went 791 at or 7913 at 170.49 miles an hour.
In a legit car too. This is the LS swapped Fox body.
Yeah. Like last time I weighed it, it was 3260 with me in it. That was with 50 pounds in it for some no prep stuff, and I made a few little changes, but it should still be right around the 3200 mark.
I popped up the video of the pass that's online.
Look pretty and slow.
We got the video playing here.
Oh, here it is making a pass. Yeah.
It'll repeat a couple times.
Yeah, he overlaid the data. If you look at it, you can see some of the data parameters we got going on here. I wasn't kidding. In a post, I made a comment the other day about the pin the gate shut while staging tune in this car. And that's exactly what happens. The gates are pinned when he bumps the car in on the bump. How much boost he leaves with is based on how many RPMs he leaves with.
So wait a sec. What ECU are you using? I see you're using Race Render, which HP Tuners owns now, but are you doing this on a Holly?
Yeah, it's a Holly Dominator. I had a PO1 on it, and it went 847 at 163 with that on some of our like below average prep, but I just couldn't go any higher on the boost with the stock ECU. I went 33 pounds on the stock ECU, which it only read up to like 28, so I was getting pretty sketchy with the feeling. So
Right. That top row feeling.
And
I know how to
John wouldn't let me put nitrous on it, so
right.
step it up.
Outstanding. The car leaves pretty good, man. I mean, it's the right combination for doing these kind of records, and it's not a. I gave Neil Richards and those guys a hard time, but they were doing it with a pro stock truck chassis or whatever. So this is I can see why Bewley likes this setup right here. He likes them legit cars.
No, it's. I mean, I work with a lot of guys with a lot of different cars, but Jack's car is like the epitome of my customer base. Like it's guys with 25.5 notchbacks and 25.3 new edges and stuff that can and does get driven regularly.
Sure.
And we just I don't know. I like the street car vibe stuff. I think it works pretty well. I like it. I like it a lot.
Actually,
John, go ahead.
Just to throw in there, just because I just saw the message from him talking about street cars. That drift car that cam's in, that dude street drives that on that T101 dog box, and he said to basically shake your hand as much as I could because he loves that cam.
Which one?
It's just a turbo LSSC, all bone stock 5.3. It's making just under 600.
Oh, is that the one that you put the Sage 2 turbo cam in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that cam's over-reliable, man.
Yeah.
I call that cam over-reliable for a reason. It never fails to make somebody happy when they run that thing, if their combination needs it.
So, Jack, how long has this been together more in the configuration we're seeing here?
I've been running it, or it was like 7 months and a few days in between the first time at the track and the 7. So it's been a little bit of a long build. Maybe, I guess it was under a year, probably like 10 months or so building it. But
you need to throw some more pictures up on your Facebook so we got more stuff we can add.
Right? I haven't posted on Facebook for 2 or 3 years until I posted that pass. So it was a grudge car before and just did like the no prep and stuff like that. So actually the first time slip, other than actually my first time at the track, I messed up the tune and accidentally went an 11.1 at like 90 something miles an hour. That's the only slip that was posted before my 791. So surprised if you could.
The old secret grudge car thing. Well, now that the cat's out of the box here, so to speak, can you share a few other things on details? So like shocks, rear suspension, some of those things.
Yeah, I got the car as
Bill's
a roller.
totally neutral party in that. He has no interest in whatsoever in how do you make a goddamn Fox body move.
None whatsoever.
Sorry.
I'm at that point for him. We just got to change a few things yet.
Yeah.
No, I got it as a roller.
Sorry.
It's a mild steel. It's mostly a 25.5. I think there's like a couple bars missing or something, but it's just pretty simple setup. It's got like a anti-roll bar. I'm not sure exactly which one, and like the adjustable mounts for the control arms and stuff, so I can move the anti-squat and all that stuff around. And strange double adjustables in the back and single in the front, and then just some limiters in the front. AJE K member. Just little stuff like that, typical build pretty much for a Fox body.
All bolt-ons.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Just a stock 8.8 with it's like braced, and I just had to put a spool in it that actually went a 125 60 foot, and then the next pass it just spun one tire, and when I opened up the rear end, it was a stock setup. So,
whoops.
Yeah,
right.
I'm pretty impressed by that.
Ford, I know, right? Jeez.
I bet you that the clutch packs and that differential had some friction modifier run over them.
So, out of curiosity, John, Jack, you said you set up the valve train so you could spin it a little bit. Is that a data point you're willing to share?
Well, it's on their video. If you look at their video, you can see what he's winding it up to. You can see what he's leaving at. You're giving away a lot of info there, my man. That's cool.
The thing about the data overlay is it can't keep up with the motor.
Yeah.
The data overlay says he shifted it at like 83 and change, and he actually shifted it at like 8450.
Yeah.
So it's a legit 8,500 RPM combination on stock rods, stock pistons. Now there's been some talk, and there's a stack or two for anybody that disputes the fact that it's a stock bottom end motor.
Here it comes.
That it is what it is. There's been some shit talk saying that, you know, it's pulled apart and blueprinted and done this and done that, but I'll back Jack 100% on it. That motor was taken out of the junkyard. The heads are taken off of it, and the only things removed off of the block were the oil pan to put a different oil pan on it. The front cover was taken off to put a different camshaft in it and to change the oil pump. The rods and the pistons and the crankshaft never left the block.
So this is still stock hardware and everything?
It's stock rod bolts.
Damn, you're making me feel like a bitch on all
bolt.
these engines now.
Well, I mean, you know, hey, sorry.
Also, the heads are unported. I don't know if that's been mentioned. I didn't even clean them out. So
Yeah, he let the E85 clean all the carbon buildup out of the ports. He just bolted them on.
It works.
Yeah.
In the article on LSX Mag, they actually posted a couple of before and after picture of the ports, and it like literally, you know, steam cleaned and you know, E85 cleaned all the ports, cleaned all the junk out of them.
I think it gave me a little bit more power as I ran it, you know, kind of ported itself out.
There you go. Yeah.
Ported the gunk out.
But yeah, I mean, the cars, I screwed up.
Is it stock ring gap? Sorry. I mean, you guys are asking questions.
If the pistons haven't been out, it would have to be.
Well, I mean, stock 140,000 mile ring gap. So whatever they wore to in its previous life, right?
So how big of a catch can are you running for all this blow by then?
It's actually not that big. It doesn't have too much, really. Nothing crazy, at least, but it's slowly getting more as I turn it up.
I mean, boosted things on the rev limiter like we do and drifting and stuff. We run stock ring gap. You just make sure you empty the catch can because at some point.
So we have a saying at RealTuners, timing is everything. So Absolutely. that's my question of the night is when you're up at your 32 PSI, are you into single digits?
Not at high RPM, no.
Not
it
at
is
high
like,
RPM.
Yeah, you know, you kind of use the timing to keep the torque down or whatever. So it does dip into the single digits, but not the whole pass and not most of the pass.
That little motor would be a dog if we had the timing in it down that low. With that little crank, we gotta give it a little bit. So it ain't. Yeah. It's not.
So it's your background. Is you're a full-time tuner then, Jack?
Is that what you do? Not quite. No, okay. I actually just kind of getting started into it. I actually just, you know, kind of work on the family farm and decided I wanted to start tuning, and I don't like testing things out on customer vehicles and stuff. So that's why I built this car. Really,
good way to start, my man.
He's learning how to paste. He's learning how to paste timing tables in.
Right.
Ones he found on the internet.
No, you're doing good, man. I mean, you're obviously doing real good. That's excellent. So I know of a class that you could take, just saying. But
Jack wants to come to a class. He gets a free pass on me.
No, you know, actually, he'd get a free pass on me. I let him come sit in. If anybody's a guest, let him come sit in a class if you want to, man. Because you got to travel. That's the part that's going to suck, because we don't do classes in Clovis, New Mexico.
Yeah.
But
I think Dallas
is Vegas
the closest one I've seen.
So. Yeah.
Jack, we had a question, and I don't remember the answer to this. What head gaskets did we put on that motor? Did we put LS1 head gaskets back on it?
I think they're a Cometic head gasket.
Oh, we did use a good head gasket on it. Okay. Yeah. So we did, Jason, we put a 391 bore Cometic head gasket on it that's 51,000 stick, and then it's got ARP head studs on the heads. So we did, you know, what I call my stock bottom end prep package. We did do a couple of upgraded things to it to make sure we kept everything together.
The 10296 milling pump.
The thing to note here is they're stock heads, which means they're 4 bolts. So everybody who's complaining you can't make boost without a 6-bolt head, realize you can make plenty of it if you know what you're doing with the tune. Because he's 35 PSI on that pass in the video.
Yup. Only because it wouldn't make 40.
It would. I think it would. I don't know. I didn't try.
I got to fix my screw up on the converter selection. You got to get that thing when you get a minute and get that thing out so I can get it back to lane and make an adjustment on the stator.
I'd like to see what it'll do with a Lucid converter on the exact same tune-up and everything.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. That would be really nice because I thought I was giving it enough converter, but I did not. Considering the fact that it dropped 2,000 RPM on the shift, which is.
Did it here? Let's watch. I'm watching that video again. I keep watching it over and over.
Oh yeah, she dropped from 8450 to 6430.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, 6400, 6500. It looks like yeah.
It drops 2,000 RPM on the shift right now. So the converter is entirely too tight.
Yeah, but big broad power band. I mean, it seems to be working for him. What do you think is in it? You think there's another 10th in it? 1500?
Oh no, maybe? I think there's 2 10ths in it.
Really? Okay.
Well, I mean, when you watch the data log, watch when he lets go of the button and just pay attention to the tach. Okay, watch it.
Yeah.
And then it stalls.
Yeah.
So Jack, are you using the ECU data from your Holly with race render? Are you using what came off your internal logger?
Yeah.
Okay. And what sample rate were you running?
I don't
How many frames per second?
I think I turned it down some because I kept getting too big of logs and I was getting tired of waiting. I think it was probably 50 or 60 or so, maybe.
That's pretty good. That's still pretty good. It seems all right. It doesn't seem too bad. I know there's some smoothing stuff you can do in race render too. John was all concerned about it not keeping up. Maybe that's what's going on.
But when he lets go of the button at about 4,400, it flashes to 6,500, and then the converter it drops about 200 RPM, and then then the motor has to re-accelerate. I mean, look, so there it goes. It hits 6,480, and it pulls all the way down to like 6,450-ish, and he's 70, 80 feet out before the motor even starts accelerating again. So once I get the converter fixed and I get the thing accelerating dead on right from the hit, and I get that bog out of it when the converter couples, and then I fix the drop on the shift. So some other issues with dropping down to 6,500 that far out get fixed. We hope to get it to where we shifted at 8,500 and get it out the lights about 88. So
the numbers on the overlay looks like the data smoothing that all the softwares do unless you turn that stuff off.
Right.
Just to make it more visually appealing.
So I was curious about
the smoothing makes it more visually appealing, but the unsmoothing makes it accurate from whatever samples you were getting from the logger. But
Shannon, that car has got an 18.0 in it. So way looser than what you think it's got, and it's still too tight. So when we go back, we're going to try a 20-0 and see what we get. But I honestly think my best guess is the car is going to run a 77 or a 78 at about 176, 177 miles an hour when we get it.
Can you share what first gear is in that glide?
It's a 180.
It's a 180. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a 180 straight cut. You
have some locals telling us that track absolutely is tricky to get down.
Well, it didn't look too damn tricky with a Phoenix combination like that.
It's not tricky if you get the suspension right.
Texas 2K with Jason Miller prepping it, so it's different than normal.
Yeah. He's nice. Gotcha.
He knows his prep.
Yeah, it's got a World Cup prep job on it. So
radio prep. So
it was ridiculously good, and that really kind of pisses me off that I missed the converter as far as I missed it. But I've done a couple of short stroke deals, but I've never done the short stroke deal with the glide. So I didn't really know how. I knew I had to be loose on it, but I didn't really know how loose. And I thought an 18.0 was going to be enough, and it wasn't.
What's the rear gear in it, Jack?
It's a 373.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was watching the IATs. This is fun. Yeah, you share all the data. We get to ask all these questions. So this is just straight E85. No, yeah, but it says it's 51 at the leave. And so is this no intercooler or anything, just straight E85?
No, it's a air to water intercooler with an ice tank, but I also have the trans cooler in the ice tank, so that can get up some too. But.
Yeah, because and I'm the least knowledgeable person on this deal. It just looked like it picked up a lot of temperature down track, and maybe that's just my ignorance.
It would probably be another 100 to 150 degrees hotter if you didn't have an intercooler.
Okay.
Well, it's a function of turbocharger, a lot of that, Bill, because when you do the weight and speed calculation on this, these little Cast 366s aren't supposed to be able to make this much power. They're only rated for probably about 750 horsepower a piece. Flywheel. And, this car makes a verified 1140 at the tire on a chassis dyno. So
on 5 pounds of boost less.
Yeah. So at 35 pounds of boost, I'm probably getting about all the mass flow out of the turbochargers that I'm going to get. Mm-hmm. We're running them right up to their limit, the ceiling of efficiency. So once you get past that point, it starts moving less air and starts making more heat. So if I was to do something like throw some billet 66s in this thing, so we move some more air mass, that out the back temperature probably would not get as high. If I had something, maybe a little bit bigger compressor or a little bit more efficient compressor on it. But that wasn't the goal right off the bat. It was just to see how far these little $700 turbos will go.
Yeah,
so Jack, now that the cat's out of the bag, what's next since your grudge career is over?
I was not even planning on keeping the 4.8 going, but I kind of expected it to blow up on that record pass or right after it. But now that we decided to just keep it running and change the converter, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna push it as fast as it'll go, I guess, and then see what I do from there. But.
So that was actually going to be the next question is what was the expected longevity, or what is the expected longevity in here? And what's the time it's spent in the car at these conditions?
50 passes ago.
All right.
Yeah.
That was the expected life expectancy of the motor. I mean,
I think a bunch of our drift guys just jumped on, and I'm getting messages like, ask him this. I'm really interested. Can we do this? And half of it's like, no, I'm just going to blow up. And the other ones are like, why aren't we?
Ryan's like, no, we can't do this. Stop.
I mean, the biggest thing, the guys have got to realize between drifting and drag racing, we're only leaning on this thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the conversation we always have is like, look, guys, like, yeah, these can do it, but they're touching that rev limiter for a fraction of a second, and you guys are like, I want to be on the rev limiter for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I can't. You couldn't have the same result mass out of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the rev limit with what you guys do on the rev limiter and all that stuff. I don't think
destroy stuff with this.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's John. That's a conversation we can have this winter, but because I want to get some revs out of some of these things.
Yep, second twist and turn on the limiter, and it'd come apart.
Yeah, but the motor's been in the car now between when the stock computer was on it and the Holly was on it. When we did, when he changed all that over, things probably got 100 hits on it by now.
Yeah, that's what
between eighth mile and a quarter mile, and testing and getting his feet wet and.
I'll tell you this, Brad. If you could
every pass is over 20 pounds.
If you could do your rev limiters as a timing limiter instead of a cut like they want to hear for coolness factor, then it'd probably live a lot longer if you could just limit timing as your rev limiter.
We actually do. That's something that came up because there was a post about that. I don't know. Some of you guys saw. Some people accused me of running a drift limiter in my Miata when I blew up on my first flying lap this weekend. But no, all our drift cars, they still run a soft cut. It does pull timing out to slow the engine down first, just not as much as I would normally do on something where I'm trying to keep it, say, soft. It's still a soft cut for what most people would consider and what a lot of the other drift guys are doing. It's just not as soft as I normally would do for what I consider
I'm talking about a full timing limit, zero actual dropping of cylinders. And you
just completely slowing it down 100% on timing.
Yep, you can save parts a lot longer on that. It's still eventually not going to like it, but it's a lot better for the part because you're not unloading it.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what we do on the road race cars because you can stand them on the limiter coming down a straight instead of grabbing the next gear.
I'd be concerned if you're pulling that much timing out to keep it on the limiter of heat.
Yeah. And like I said, that's never going to work. We tried that. The judges didn't like it.
Everything.
Oh God.
Can I say something a little off topic for a second?
Of course.
Fuck Microsoft. Yeah.
What?
Fuck Microsoft. We're in the middle of the podcast. For me. I've got my automatic updates all shut off and everything. My whole screen goes blank and it says we have to report errors or something, automatic shutdown happening. The whole thing shuts down. I have to wait for it to do updates and restart. Piece of shit.
I can turn that crap off for you sometime, Mark. I know where to disable that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Wow. Too funny.
Anyways, back to the turbo talk or whatever. It only has 34 pounds of CO2 on the gates, so I do feel like they have some more in them. But
yeah, we still got a little bit. We got a little bit more turbine and a little bit more left to go. Maybe we can get it to tickle 40.
That's what I thought it was going to take.
I mean, you can at least get 36.
Yeah,
probably.
I got 35.8, so we're close.
Yeah,
peak at least.
So if this is the 4.8 record, just for context, for those of us who don't follow this as closely as some of the other folks do, what's the 5.3 record or the 6.0 record or all
I don't know that anybody's tried it and pointed out that it had a 6.0 in it. As far as 5.3s are concerned, in cars like Jack's, like on a 275 radial tired street car, Capizzi's been 761 with a 5.3. And Team North, the guys up in Canada, have been 719 at some mile an hour in an Pro Stock truck, big tire truck.
And the Team North
Neil
guys
Richards
are on the YouTube, by the way.
Neil Richards and Matthew Kuhn and a couple, Charlie. Damn it, I forgot his last name.
Yeah, we got Neil on the YouTube.
Those guys his crew are hilarious.
Yeah.
They came to class in Florida, and they're the rental car OEM destruction test crew or whatever.
Yeah, but I always razz them and tell them their record doesn't stand because they put rod bolts in.
Well, that'll get stuff moving.
But yeah, they went 7. I can't remember the mile an hour, and it was a big tire truck, but they didn't have big tires on it. It was only on like a 31-10-50 when they run that number at the PSCA race over in Vegas. So that truck is literally the fastest thing that I know about with, stock box, stock crank, stock rod, stock pistons, main studs and rod bolts be damned. I don't really care if it's got them or not, but that truck is probably the fastest one that I know about.
Capizzi, actually, he used to have the 4.8 record. That's who I took it from. It's just barely behind you. 7.918.
6. Oh yeah, with an 8. Yeah. So you got him by 5 numbers.
Yeah, just barely. And I think he actually had slightly more mile per hour. This car, I think, was a little bit lighter, but.
Oh, so that explains the 791 with a 3 part of it or whatever it was. I remember thinking, we're going to thousands now, and that's important because now I know why it's important.
Yeah, because he only took it by like 5 numbers, but hey, 5 numbers is 5 numbers, right?
Hopefully farther later on this year.
I think we're gonna shove it a couple of more tenths further down.
I'd like to get the 4-second pass in the 8th mile.
Yeah, you're not too far away. You're only like 6 numbers away on knocking off a 490, so
yeah,
we're pretty close there.
And this was at a well prepped surface, so that's always going to play into where you can do that again, right?
Yeah. I've got to travel a ways because around me none of the tracks are quite up to that level. So I had to actually drive to Dallas to test before Texas 2K. And, before then I'd only gone 1-2 60 foot. It was a 1-2-8. And then I hadn't been able to repeat it. And then I went to XRP and Dallas and went a 520 something, 528, I think, with a 125, and then went straight down to Texas 2K.
Eric Yost has announced they have a 4.8 for beer money. So they say they're coming for you. So if nothing else, be honored. That'll be fun to see.
That'll be funny.
Come on,
Eric,
come on,
Biggin. Talk some shit with us, Eric.
Come on, Biggin. Come on, Biggin. Bring it on.
So
I'll break out the billet wheel 68s or some shit for you, boy. I get it. I ain't scared.
Don't give Biggin flashbacks to the competition where the other team showed up with the other turbo.
I think that was precisely the idea.
So it was pointed out, by the way, that when we're talking about the fastest car with AC, that Frank Sapinaro's wagon is AC too.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how fast Frank is.
We should transition to talking about Jonathan 70. Here. These poor guys waited for 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
And certainly survived drag week. So that's an interesting discussion.
I mean, that's legit. Yeah, both of them have survived drag week. That's legit.
Hey, how many bonus points do we get for doing it with a small block instead of a big block?
Here we go. Give me a weight break.
Good Lord.
Do it with a sub 400-inch small block at that.
Like everything else, show up, do it.
3,600 pounds.
We'll all be, okay, great.
So John Coleman's with us tonight. Why don't we talk about his car a bit?
Yeah, so Jonathan, why don't you run it down for us? Because not everybody on here is familiar with Drag Week or what it takes to run Drag Week, or that only real men run. No, never mind. But anyways, just let everybody kind of get a sense.
I'd have some comebacks for that, but it'd make all my other friends mad too. Go ahead.
Yeah, so be quiet.
So it is a 2003 Mustang. Started life as a V6 car. Caught probably a good 50 bottles of nitrous through it. Couldn't blow it up. Yanked it out. Originally started 333 inch, basically D-stroke 6 liter. Ran that 2 years. Finished 5th and 6th in drag week. First 2 years with that combo.
In what class?
Basically twins, super street, small block power rider.
Okay.
Obviously, D-stroke motor, big heavy car. Biggest disadvantage was torque. So, although John did most of every bit of the combination in the small short stroke motor, we decided to pull out a few more pennies and go ahead and do a 388 aluminum block, trying to drop some weight off. Because first 2 years it was 3,780 pounds at drag week. So last year, finishing second, we were 388, twin 76 mil ETR Jose turbos. Pretty much, I would say, found the limit of those. Close enough that we decided to make a change. 40 pounds of boost, it was pretty much done making anything else it wanted to make. So this year is same engine, same everything as far as engine goes right now, with a set of 80 mils. Performance Power Glide, basically 180 straight cut, 10 clutch drum, just like most of them are. And just 8.8 for the most part, runs a 275. Right at about 3,550 pounds right now. And of course on ethanol with intercoolers.
Who are you chasing on the top of the podium?
Clark Rosenthal was the winner last year.
Okay.
And that was
5th gen.
So basically first day last year at drag week, we tightened the converter before we went, never had any testing, went out and basically lit the tires off about 20 foot into the run, turned it a 1080, and sitting in line to make another pass, it started raining and they said, see you later. So had to turn in a 1080 the first day. Every other day was a 770, 780s pass. Fairly easy week. did have a gear vender's failure, but obviously they're there and they're a lot of help. So if it hadn't been for the first day, it would have been an easy win for us for that week. But it's just one of those things that bite you. No testing time gets you in a bad spot usually.
Absolutely. So you mentioned weight drop, little turbo change. 388 still seems conservative on the engine size, given you got up to 430 cubic inches or 429, I suppose, available to you. What's the thinking on going with that kind of dimensions versus something larger?
So obviously coming from the short stroke motor, I like RPM. And I think John and I were on the same page of saying stock stroke. I spun the short stroke motor 8,700-ish. I still spin this 388 about 85. The car is always done good at RPM. So keeping that short, rotator in there was a big help. Just as far as longevity goes, because obviously drag week is, survival of the fittest and everything's got to last. So just trying to keep it happy. Main reason of saying a little under sub 400.
And the big thing for longevity on turbo LS engines like this is piston. If you start, you've got a 924 deck and you've got a 3625 stroke and a 6125 rod. So we've got a pin height of about 130, and that's roughly about as short as you can go and keep the piston pin out of the oil ring. So I'm really not a fan of giving people stuff that are maintenance pigs, especially for drag week style cars like this. The 388, 4125 bore, 3625 stroke, it does a really good job. We got a really stable piston in the motor. It keeps the rings happy, keeps them sealed up, keeps the cylinder walls happy, keeps the piston skirts happy, as far as side loading and stuff goes. So that's the main reason why, I think the 388 does such a good job and is such a successful engine. I really don't feel that another 20, 30 cubic inches is really that big of a benefit in certain applications, given what we've been able to make with the 388. And the short stroke helps my preferred head choice get up in the RPMs a little bit better. So
that's the beautiful thing about boost is you can substitute those cubic inches. In the end, it's all about, how much cylinder pressure and how long you're pushing down on that piston.
Yeah. How much air mass can you put in the cylinder? And, it's a really stable thing. Jonathan will never own a 4-inch arm engine. I don't think,
probably not.
The RPM that he likes to turn motors and stuff. So, anytime, going over 8,000 is basically a requirement for him anymore. So you got to give him something that'll do the way he wants it to do.
That makes sense. So anything else? Well, we're not trying to have you give anything away. You're running a class with no weight limit. So obviously there's some benefit to putting the car more on a diet. But then you have air conditioning, which the rest of us are jealous about. So because we're not going to ask you to give away, any real deep, dark secrets on, the engine combination, what makes the car go fast. Although I'm looking at somebody here with a mix of aluminum and stainless rockers on their motor in the picture that's just showing. Can you share with us what keeps something like the front dress to drive the air conditioning solid? Because that's a lot of RPM. So do you guys take the belt off, or is there something else you do to keep everything happy for the drives?
So really, in all honesty, the past 3 years, I have had a lot of belt issues. Every drag week I've had 10 belts in the trailer. Like it's always been an issue. So this past year, the biggest change I made was an external drive oil pump. So still wet sump, but just a single stage external pump. That was where my alternator used to live. So what I did is I actually moved the alternator to where a factory tensioner would be, top right of the LS. And I've had basically a shop local to us made an AC bracket that moves the AC compressor onto the main belt line. So I actually have quite a few extra idlers just to keep everything good wrap, good contact. But it's always been a belt issue because there's always been very, very minute alignment issues. And obviously at, 8,500 plus, that's an issue. But I still run stock LS1 water pump, just an ATI dampener. The compressor is actually a Sandin like vintage air compressor. So small, tucked really tight. But obviously every pulley has been very slightly machined to try to keep everything as happy as possible. We finally got a handle on that. Actually right after drag week last year. I had no problems drag week last year until the final day. We started pushing on it pretty hard. And that's when it started becoming an issue again. We actually went through 3 belts the last day. And it was pretty much one of those things you come home and you're like, okay, I'm fed up with this. And we sat there with straight edges and lasers and everything on the front of the motor changed. But it would literally be like 10 thousandths here, 12 thousandths here, 1 thousandth here, like literally made it perfect. That belt has not moved, period. I did 3 races in 3 weekends in a row. Unfortunately went out all 3 races because I red lit, which I'm just trigger happy. But through all of those big crazy long burnouts, the belt's been perfect. So it's not really anything overly crazy. But obviously taking the time to get it 100% perfect has been a big advantage. Y'all talk about AC, the car actually still has power steering on it too. I've said from the get-go, there's 2 things I won't give up: power steering and AC. I gave up power brakes, that type of stuff. But, trans brake button being on the steering wheel, backing the trailer up, parking at a hotel at drag week, like 1 thumb on the button, turn the wheel, good to go.
Are you running a spool?
I am running a spool.
Okay. Well, if you can, switch out the spool for, the strange track thing, then you can get rid of the power steering. Just
locker.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if I would take it.
Yeah, it might.
The
anyway,
locker
it's
wheel,
one of those things.
I've been beating on it pretty hard on mine. It's no signs of any problems.
I'm just sympathetic because I ran through this belt thing and on my other car, I had power steering and it was 8,000 RPM. And then when it would climb first gear, nothing going as fast as you're going, but still accelerated pretty quickly. And that, the engine speeds and the alignment was so critical with trying to do it with 6 rib. This is all a single 6 rib, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My hat's off to you. That's great work. Did you put a bigger pulley to slow down the air conditioning compressor or anything, or are you just letting it all go where it goes?
Did not. Of course, cruising down the road is about the only time we use it. I mean, obviously compressor disengaged. It just relies on that, that floater bearing in there. So it hasn't caused an issue. To be honest with you, the AC compressor, the power steering, and the water pump have been on for 3 years now. They were all 100% new at the start of that, of course, but every time we have the belt off, everything feels great, no excessive in and out movement. So it all seems to be really happy. Obviously, if I do cross an issue, we'll just have to get to it at that point. But I'd be pretty confident to say if something did become an issue, we just replace it and not have a worry.
We might normally talk about electric water pumps and getting rid of the mechanical and all that, but knowing what your dress must look like, we're not going to go there. Other tips that you have, I mean, you're going good 7s in a car that obviously makes the drive, does everything else. What else? We got a lot of new people when they ran the survey for Drag Week this year that said that like half the people that signed up are new. What's your advice for people, whether they're going to really do drag week or not, or Rocky Mountain Race Week, or the Midwest Drag Weekend deal with Summit now, or any of these kind of, as Scott would call them, endurance drag racing events? What's your point of view on how people, what do they need to do to prepare properly for these events?
I mean, the biggest thing, in my opinion, is drive the car. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. We found more issues on drives than we've ever found racing. Our local track to us, which our shop actually we've sponsored for 10 years now. They're about an hour from us. If we go to the track on a Friday night to test and tune, or on Saturday or whatever, I drive from the shop to the track every time. Usually I don't ever trailer the car. You might be stuck on the side of the road one day, making a fix, but that's really where the torture's coming. They're going to put you in just about the worst case scenario that you could be in driving a car like that down the road. Interstate in rush hour, a bazillion potholes every mile. They're going to test the car. So that's really been the biggest thing that we've done, is I literally just drive the car every chance available. As far as any other prep, the biggest thing is bolt checks. Obviously you're driving the car, that amount prior, and you're driving, or racing that amount, prior, doing all your testing. It's pretty bad to think, but it is possible. A little 3/8 course thread bolt could be your demise in the wrong situation. So obviously bolt checks coming up, near the event. If you see one that's becoming an issue, just figuring out why the issue is. Other than that, we pretty much, my trailer is probably one of the heaviest at drag week. I'm not going to lie. We carry everything it would take us to get through the week. So really knowing I have this on the car, it's possible I could be through this many. Just being prepared in that, most stuff that we have on the car is easy to get a hold of, at a O'Reilly's or AutoZone or whatever. And we purposely kept it that way, but you still have that stuff that's not, like my external oil pump is a cog belt. You're not just going to pull over and get one of those. So just being prepared for the long run, if you've never had an issue, obviously you can't prepare to a certain point, but, at least having multiple spares, is probably a big thing. Cause it's one of those unknowns, the last day of drag week, killing 3 belts in 4 passes. The whole week went perfect up to that point. Just being prepared as far as parts go. A lot of people, like the thought of no trailer. And trust me, I'm right there with you. If I didn't have to drag that big heavy thing, I wouldn't. But it's one of those things that just helps us get through the week. Whether it's ice for drinks or, somewhere to put bags to where you're not cramped in the car. There's a lot going with that trailer. So,
are you swapping rear tires or all 4?
So we did swap rear tires last year, just because there was a lot of rain instances. The first day drive, that was probably a 9-hour drive for us. It was rain pretty much almost the entire time. So last year is actually the first time we have swapped tires. Every other year it's actually been pretty good weather. We just drive on the same tires.
That makes one life a little bit easier. You mentioned a heavy trailer. I know I saw Eric Yost is on here. I still nominate. I think they retired the best trailer trophy because they're still to this day the only ones that have a kegerator on their trailer.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, so to add up to the weight, are you carrying like gears and transmission spares and all that kind of stuff?
I don't carry a complete transmission. I carry everything it would take to rebuild one, minus the case. And of course, we're on ethanol. So down south and some places up north, obviously, is not easy to get. So I usually carry 70 to 80 gallons of fuel on top of a cooler that probably commonly has 50 to 60 pounds of ice. So that's a big chunk of the weight right there. I also do have say that again.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. That's Scott giving us our notice that we've been at 1 hour. No rush. We don't got to necessarily shut it off. Carry on.
Jonathan, that's an internal deal. So you're driving on that fuel then as well?
I am driving on that fuel.
Okay. All right.
We haven't really had the case that it's been so limited that it's been an issue. Usually if you have to pull out of the good stuff in the trailer, just because, it's not as easy to get on the drive. Just fill that can back up the next time you stop. That way you have extra for a drive if needed. And it's really just one of those planning things, you could probably pretty much count on most drives are going to be 200 to 300 miles. Knowing what kind of fuel mileage your car gets is going to be one of the big things. If you're on an alternative fuel other than, normal pump.
What kind of mileage are you getting pulling the trailer?
We usually see about 12 to 13 on ethanol.
Pulling the trailer.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Damn.
It is good.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of those, a lot of time in a drive tuning, cruising at, 16 O's when possible, making it stretch as far as you can.
Wow. 16 O's on the alcohol. Interesting.
Yeah.
Gasoline.
Well, the gasoline. Yeah.
Oh, it's gasoline. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
I had to ask. So
Jack's the only one that likes putting his ECU on E85 scales and screwing with everybody.
Reading comments and correcting people, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just mad they can't have Lambda. He just switched over to Holly. He's all pissed about not having Lambda.
I don't blame him.
So, yeah. So what else we got to chat about? Anybody else got questions here? What else? I see James McGinnis is asking questions about the K1 crankshaft, and this 3.75 inch 3750 stroke. Is that available yet? Anybody in here know? Or was it Molnar that was working on it? He says
Molnar's working on one. Now that he's
not out yet.
Now that he's got his stock stroke, I don't know if he's got it done yet or not.
And then Jonathan's getting heckled by somebody, probably one of his employees, about mentioning fuel tank. David?
Oh, yeah, we did. That's actually David, the owner of DBR.
Got it.
So I did the first drag week, and obviously on a stock fuel tank in a 2003 Mustang, trying to, make drives on that. It doesn't get very far because there is no baffling. But going back the next year, I actually built a 30-gallon fuel tank that still houses 3 electric pumps. So we can make the complete drive in one day on one fuel tank. So that does make it easy. Of course, it does add a ton of weight to the car too.
But that also means you don't have any beer stops on the way.
Well, everybody else has little fuel tanks and,
He's
has to have potty breaks and everything else.
God knows, yeah. A lot of people seems like they stop every 50 miles. God knows why. And I'm the old fart in the room, and I don't have to stop that often. But it is what it is.
Man. Some of the all-motor guys are stopping a lot more often than that, too.
Those people don't know how to build it comfort to drive for a while.
When you don't have air conditioning, I'll tell you what, man.
Yep. Got to let David stop every 50, 75 miles so he can open the hood and look at his Coyote motor and make sure it's all together still.
Oh, man.
Got to make sure the chains are still going the right direction.
Yeah. Well, by the time you got, what external oil pump are you running on? I asked because I run a Peterson, so I'm interested in this stuff.
It's actually an Aviate.
Okay. You running
Aviate
a
makes
vacuum
good
off of that
pumps.
as well?
What was that?
Are you running vacuum off of that as well?
I'm not.
Not a vacuum pump or anything?
No,
just a catch can.
Okay.
Very large
with the fancy stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's a street car. I built him a street, gave him the specifications and tying him down there at Titech, built him a street motor. Only race cars need vacuum pumps. Streetcars just need catch kit.
No, streetcars need vacuum pumps because that way, if they leak a little, well, they don't. So
only if you've got an antiquated, naturally aspirated big block Ford.
Yeah, well, my hand is raised. I got the antique piece of crap. So
I have no problem saying that streetcars need a vacuum pump.
Hey, Billy, I got a new tagline for Bill's car, man.
What's
Here
that?
it is. It may be slow, but it's expensive.
But
Sure is short, but it's not very big around.
You know, these for the listeners wondering about how slow Bill's car is.
It's not that slow.
It is an 8-second car.
Right. It's an X Pursuit. It's a really cool X Pursuit Mustang.
Class winning drag week car. Blah blah blah.
Desert, what do you want? You haven't won anything with the Fox body yet, have you? The last car he built
was the other car. Okay,
super impressive. Yeah. But we just give Bill a hard time. That's okay. It's the hard way of doing things, man. The big block Ford. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's a neat combo, and we had a lot of fun with it at our class in Vegas. But and you can beat the shit out of that thing. He's making hot laps on the dyno like it was nothing, and it was repeating too, which was cool. But we give him a hard time.
Well, as Jonathan knows, that's kind of the whole point of this stuff is it's got to put up with all those things and hence, in my case, the slowness. So anyway,
we were a kid giving him a hard time.
No worries.
So. But anywho, so what else we got? Anybody else got other questions before we let these guys get back to bed and their families or whatever else they got going on?
I have one little side note. I listened to Jack earlier, and he said something I thought was really cool. He talked about, working on the family farm, and, we've got another buddy, Mike Swan, who comes off the family farm, and I was visiting him in Sidney, Nebraska last week and a half ago. And I just know there's a lot of guys that come out of that background that have an amazing practical education along with, that kind of, can-do attitude, because let's face it, if you're out on the North 40 and the tractor breaks, it's not getting back in unless you figure out how to fix it. So
sure.
I'm just impressed with that ongoing level of ingenuity and what people can do and learn and understand and, mobile.
Man, I'll be honest. It helps having a farming background. I grew up on my family farm as well. And that's, in fact, you saw one of my cousins chimed in here at the beginning of the show. Cousin Mike's like, oh, we grew up on the family farm too. When Jack was telling a story, that's kind of cool. We grew up on a 1,200 acre farm. We were fixing stuff all the time. But it is a good place to get your launch, I think, because you do learn how to be kind of creative, and sometimes things are fixed with duct tape and baling wire, and sometimes that's all you need. So.
Yeah, the one thing I did a bunch of interviews with people because we're getting ready to publish a set of stories on how to survive drag week and hot rod. And the overwhelming thing that came out of everybody is you got to know your car. And Jonathan mentioned that earlier, take it out on the drives, know what's going on, know how to fix it, know what you're doing, because nobody who gets through and does well on that thing is somebody who wrote a checkbook for a car and shows up. And I think that's true of all this everything we're talking about here, not just drag week, but any of these other things, this really celebrates the people that know how to get their hands dirty and figure out what they're doing and make it work.
I mean, I think that's true for racing in general. There's guys that can write a check, but if you don't understand what's going on and you never got your hands dirty, when something goes wrong, then you don't even know how to explain that to your crew.
Yeah, it's making a noise. Yeah.
It's just not fast. I don't know.
Yeah, it's your fault. Fix it.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to write a check to make it go faster. And well, sometimes that check is, how about we find a new driver?
It's making a noise like when I put my sneakers in the dryer.
I wish Rye was here. I wanted to pick on a little bit about one of his videos. It was making this noise and it did this thing, and it was anyway. Got to get Rye back.
Got to get Ryback on here. He's all busy. He's all like into the million view count videos, clapped outs exploding. It's good to see.
And he's teaching a class this time of day. That's,
right.
Into that. So yeah, he'll be back. I know.
Is that still going on? Is he still doing
to my knowledge, yeah. He's got work going on. He's got stuff he's doing.
Got another month.
I thought it was I couldn't remember if it was 2 or a 3 month gig that they signed up for on that deal.
So are we allowed to give any kind of a hint as to what our plans are for next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I confirmed it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's
well. So we're trying to get. Well, apparently, we're going to have Fast Jack Beckman on here.
I made a little visit to the drag races this last weekend here in Vegas, and had a great time. And made a trip down through the pits and talked to a few people, and talked to Jack Beckman, and said, "Hey, we got a podcast. We'd love to have you on." And he said, "Hey, that sounds cool. I'm interested." So next week, Jack Beckman.
So if you like big name, big show NHRA racers, you come tune in next weekend. That guy's tuning some fast stuff, man. So that's going to be an interesting chat. Can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, he's super cool too.
Jack has a very cool 69 El Camino project that he is just finally going to light off. He's been working on it for 2.5 years. I was involved in that one a little bit. So, his racing goes back to racing the kind of cars that, all of us kind of know about. You got your 396 in an El Camino, and you're trying to figure out how to go fast. And then the other thing that a lot of people might not know about Jack is he's also been one of the lead instructors at the Frank Hawley School. So he has taught literally thousands of people.
I did not know that. Okay, that's cool.
Yes.
So okay.
So he's taught literally thousands of people how to go from being a guy that shows up at the track to how to be a guy that shows up at the winner's circle. Because yes, the car prep stuff we've been talking about there, but there is a mental game to winning. I know Jonathan and Jack on here tonight both understand the mental game of being able to be prepared and be ready to go and actually get out there and win. And Jack knows a lot about that, which is why when you go to his house, he has this massive Wally collection. Kind of cool to see.
That should be a cool show. We'll make sure we'll let everybody know. But I'm glad we have the guests that we do, man. I like to get the little guys in here breaking these records on the small budgets, and then alternate up with some of the guys that work in the big budget stuff. So I'm stoked to have him on next week. That's going to be pretty cool. So anybody else? Going once, going twice? Evans, you're free to take us out, man. Well, we have and everybody else on the call, stick around. We have way more fun in the next half hour.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming out.
I do have one more thing to add. I forgot. So it's not in the commercials yet, but 2 new classes, May 4th and 5th, the standalone class. So if you want to learn about Holly or Megasquirt or whatever, the famous class we have annually at James Short Shop is May 4th and 5th, Danville, Kentucky, shore tuning. Good guy, good place, awesome place to have a class. A lot of these guys will probably be there. I mean, I know I'll get Bewley down there for a steak dinner and a bottle of Elijah Craig, but then we also are doing a class in the New Orleans area in Slidell. And that's going to be the weekend of June 1st and 2nd. So check that stuff out at RealTuners.com. That is all I have. Thank you to Jack Roberts and Jonathan Coleman for joining us tonight, talking about sharing way more info than yet. We appreciate it. That was kick-ass.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, cool. All right. I know the listeners liked it. We had a huge number of listeners live tonight. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Mr. Evans, it's all yours, buddy.
Cool. Everybody have a good night.
Do you want to learn how to tune electronic fuel injection live in person with the guys from RealTuners? We have 2-day courses in dyno shops all across the country. You can register for these at RealTuners.com and click on RealTuners Live Classes. For more information or to make a reservation, go to RealTuners.com or message us on Facebook at RealTuners LLC. Now, about those classes. When are they, you might ask? April 13th and 14th, a Level 1 EFI course at Endless Performance in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. April 27th and 28th, an advanced class at 417 Motorsports in Springfield, Missouri. May 18th and 19th, a standalone EFI Level 1 class at 417 Motorsports in Springfield, Missouri. June 15th and 16th, a Level 2 advanced course in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Endless Performance. And of course, we will be trying to schedule more classes and more dates throughout the year, so keep checking back for more info. And remember, don't forget to have your host spayed or neutered.